What is up, boys and girls? It's your pal right here, Black Avenger, aka the Black House Road Lee Sanders. You are checking out an all-new episode of Impact Showdown, coming at you for July 31st, 2014. We are talking Fallout from TNA Destination X. We're also covering the very latest and get you all's reactions to the news that had came about earlier in the week as far as TNA Wrestling supposedly now being canceled by Spike TV. We'll definitely cover the very latest with regards to all that. Definitely follow up on what y'all had to say, as a lot of you all commented on that news. Very interesting comments that some of y'all had to say as well. As always, we welcome those of you that's checking us out right now. Remember, if you want to get in on the conversation, you can do it a number of ways. Post those comments down below. You can also find us out on Twitter. Hit us up at the RWR Show. While you're at it, take the time out. Check us out on our Facebook. We post a little bit of some fun news that you can use. Look us up on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. That's Infinity with an E. Throw the actual one in there. Of course, if you miss all of that, have no fear. Thing is in our episode description, so check it out when you guys get a moment. Also, be sure to Google Plus this, Facebook it, retweet it, as it's one of the many ways you can spread the good word about our content. How about Destination X tonight? I mean, and just to make perfectly clear, you know, I told you guys a couple of weeks back I had an opportunity, as I did purchase a ticket and all that, to go check out the TNA tapings in New York City. But my trip itinerary just ended up being so crazy when TNA had brought these first batch of New York City shows back in June that I ended up, unfortunately, not being able to sell the ticket. And the ticket that I had purchased was for this Destination X event. So I know probably there's some of you guys on that note are saying, damn, you had an opportunity to go see that. Yeah. How about Destination X tonight, though? I mean, this was one of those type of free pay-per-view events that honestly I really enjoyed from top to bottom. It was a very solid card, especially the main event match between Bobby Lashley, Austin Aries. What did I say to you guys leading up to this match? As I believe we talked about it as early as last week. I said, look, as one of y'all had even asked a question, what do I think about Aries versus Lashley if it'll deliver? I said last week, you can go back and check it out if you don't believe me. I said Austin Aries, Bobby Lashley, no doubt about it, two of the best gifted, talented wrestlers that we've seen in the last 15 years. They're definitely going to be coming out there in this match. They're going to be delivering. It's going to be balls to the walls, insanely good. And those two guys off the break, I have to give my hat, even though I'm not wearing one. I definitely have to take my hats off to them because they delivered a very solid matchup. We're going to talk a little bit more about that main event match in just the later part of the show. We're going to just blaze through this real quickly for you guys here. I know usually when I say that, we get a couple of snickers and all that, but no, we're actually going to try to blaze through this really quick. So let's just go on ahead and go right through it, all right? Because there's some definite TNA news that I want to talk about with you guys and definitely share you all's reaction, because we promised you guys we were going to dedicate a good portion of the show talking about you all's reactions to the news about TNA Wrestling, Spike, and all that. All right, so, you know, I love how Impact Wrestling had began with Dixie Carter's new stable, which consists of Rhino, Gene Snitsky, the man formerly known as Ezekiel Jackson, as he's now being called Rick Lawn. For a second there, I thought it was Rick Law, but no, it's actually Rick Lawn. Of course, you got EC3 in there. Just a hell of a stable right there. Rockstar Spud, all those wonderful, colorful characters. I just love it. Is it just me, or is Ethan Carter III really starting to just get the hang of things? I still remember when this guy had made his debut in the company. Wasn't it like earlier this year? I could have sworn it was earlier this year. It just seemed like he was off to somewhat of a little bit, I'd say, just a bit of a rocky start, but he has just really been coming into his own very well the past several months, especially being involved in this program right now with Bully Ray and all that. I love Ethan Carter. You know, it took a while. It's kind of like a new flavor of soda. You don't really mess with it at first, but after you've had it a couple of times, you say, you know what, the taste isn't that bad. I think I'm starting to come around. I think I'm starting to like this, and I must say, I'm really starting to come around to Ethan Carter III. So much so, I know several weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, if you would have said to me, EC3 is a guy that needs to be the TNA champion, I would have laughed and said, no, he has a long ways to go. But if he continues to go at the rate that he's going right now, I must admit the future is very bright for the guy. He's got everything that you would want in a wrestler. He's young. He's arrogant as hell. Uh, Mic work wise, it's decent. He is able to say enough to, help him get through segments and all that. I'm not saying it's up there on par of a Dwayne The Rock Johnson or a Mr. Anderson or whatnot, but it's definitely up there. He can hold his own fairly well. He actually has been able to hold his own very well, as we've seen the past few weeks with the crowd, especially this New York City crowd. These guys have been hot as hell, which, by the way, I love that crowd and their passionate energy towards Dixie Carter. They were just giving her all the love. And then notice I'm kind of exaggerating the hell out of love. I'm being sarcastic here in case you guys aren't able to pick that up. They really do not like them some Dixie Carter, man. I tell you what, but I love seeing the stable kick things off right there. Didn't let Gene Snitsky and Rick Long talk, which I think is a very smart move right there. Just basically kind of have them come off as, two big, massive bodyguards that's just there to do the work for the Carter family, as Dixie Carter did a hell of a job putting over EC3, saying that the real EC Dub was standing right next to her in the ring, Ethan Carter III. This pretty much was a setup for EC3 to issue a challenge to Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, Devon, basically to meet them in a match if they dare, and we would see those three men respond later on in the night. They basically said, yeah, let's do it. We want to get it on right now. Let's do it. Ethan Carter would then come out and inform them, okay, yeah, great that it's done, but you're going to have to wait until next week, unfortunately, at which we had saw Bully Ray say, okay, well, hey, promise you this. There's going to be some serious war. It's going to be a lot of carnage. Basically, folks, we're going to be seeing a 8-man Extreme War match, as we're going to be seeing the team of Bully Ray take on the team of EC3. So I would imagine that it's going to be EC3, Gene Snitsky, Rick Long. It's going to take me a while to get used to that, too. But in either case, because I'm so used to calling him Ezekiel Jackson, I think I might just call him Ezekiel Jackson just to not confuse the hell out of you guys, okay? Especially those of you that know your wrestling and all that. So we got EC3, Ezekiel Jackson, Gene Snitsky. I'm assuming Rhino is going to be their 4th man, as Rockstar Spud will just be going around. Is it just me, or does Rockstar Spud sometimes just remind you of an irritating little ferret? Those of you that have had pet ferrets, you know what I'm talking about. It's like you're kicking back, you're enjoying yourself, you got a nice big old bowl of nachos, you're kicking back in your recliner, you're watching the TV, and you just hear this clawing at the cage, and you look, and it's the damn ferret. The ferret wants to get out. All the times the ferret didn't want to get out of the cage at first. It was fine. The little effort waits until you sit down, you're enjoying yourself, you're taking a load off, and the ferret keeps clawing at the cage, fighting at it, gnawing at it, and it wants out. And then afterwards, it's just bouncing around. It wants to go play. You better watch that ferret, though, because if you don't pay attention, it's going to run in a corner and it's going to poop and piss somewhere. Rockstar Spud just reminds me of one of those little irritating ferrets. All right, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's a good thing. I'm not knocking him. It's a good thing. It's good that I get kind of worked up with a Rockstar Spud. If you can get me worked up to the point that I want to see you just get your butt handed to you, I think you're doing your job right. And every single time I see Rockstar Spud, honestly, I think they've cast him perfectly. I know there's probably a lot of you guys that were expecting a lot of big things to happen for Rockstar Spud, him being part of the whole TNA British boot camp, which, by the way, looks like they're going to be holding auditions for the second season. That's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, he's really been good there. I didn't mean to get sidetracked, by the way, but I'm assuming that Rockstar Spud is going to be kicking back at ringside, just watching Team EC3 their thing. So on the other side, going to be taking on Bull Ray, Devon, Tommy Dreamer. I wonder who their fourth man is going to be, because so far we've only seen three people. So who could possibly be their fourth man? I wonder. You got me on that one, guys. I'm sure we're probably going to be in for a nice little surprise, though. But hey, in either case, it is what it is. I'm actually looking forward to that matchup coming up next week. What I want to do for you guys right now, those of you that will be checking out this recording, you're going to be seeing an ad break right about now. Hang tight. We're going to come on back, continue the discussion of tonight's Fallout from TNA Destination X / Impact Wrestling. You're checking out Impact Showdown for July 31st, 2014. We'll be coming right back. And we are back. All right, so we're talking Fallout from TNA Impact Wrestling tonight, as it was their free event dubbed Destination Next. Let's continue on. I loved this match. This, for me, was definitely the match of the night. First time in about 7 years that we've seen the Hardy Boys team up on national television, all right? Hardys taking on the Wolves, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards. What can I say about this match? Speechless really comes to mind. I mean, both of these tag teams really, if you guys were following us on Twitter at the RCWR show, I put an interesting tweet out there that said, "This is wrestling. Hats off to all four of you all represented. Great tag match." It was just insanely that day, you know. And I know that we're probably going to have some people that may be just a little bit naive, and I'm not taking a knock at you. I'm just saying you might be a little bit naive as far as filling your brain with all of that good wrestling knowledge, and you might say, "Oh, wow, it was so great to see the Hardys finally return. You know, it sucked we had to wait for so long." Well, if you know you're wrestling like that, you know that the Hardy Boys have been doing their own thing when they can on the independent circuits. They've definitely done a couple of events with their Omega promotion this year. They definitely did something earlier in the summer to kick things off and all. But, you know, for me, it was definitely nice. I will say this. I will say this much. It was definitely nice being able to see the Hardys again on TV, because let's be for real, those of us that have passionately been following the sport of professional wrestling or wrestling entertainment, whatever they want to call it now, sports entertainment, you know, when the Hardys came on, you stopped what you were doing, and you sat your ass down and you gathered up some friends and you watched what was going on with the Hardy Boys, whether it was them being Team Extreme and they had Lita, or you know, they were just doing their old thing, or hell, maybe eventually when they were broken up in the WWE, and it was kind of like, well, who's going to be the bigger and the brighter star? And it was so funny because I still remember to this day when the Raw draft had initially came about, everybody was like, "Oh, Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy's going to be the one to be the true breakout star. It's not going to be Jeff Hardy." But, man, a lot of people messed that up, because as Matt Hardy kind of struggled to find his place as a singles competitor, Jeff Hardy was just skyrocketing big time, so much so, and I definitely got to make this little bit of a reference because it does tie into Jeff Hardy. I was actually checking out highlights of a interview, transcript-wise, that Jeff Hardy had conducted, where he had talked about CM Punk having the opportunity to wrestle him. He had put CM Punk over, basically saying when he looks back on greatest moments in his career, He said that was definitely one that he feels very proud of. He kind of feels like it's immortal status right there because that was just an awesome feud on so many levels as far as he was concerned, as the chemistry was there, all that. If you guys had missed it, the first go around, if you happen to have the WWE Network, you can check it out that way. Or after you get done with this, look it up on YouTube. That's if you're, a hardcore Jeff Hardy fan and all that. You can definitely check it out when you guys get a chance. But the Hardy Boys Wolves, solid freaking contest. We had saw the Wolves retain their tag championships. Nice little classy move at the end as the Wolves had shook the Hardy Boys' hands. Of course, coming out of this now, going into next week's edition of Impact Wrestling, you got to ask yourself two questions. Number one is, okay, so what's next for Wolves? Are they now going to try to issue another challenge and basically say, look, anybody that wants to challenge us for these titles on up? Or is it maybe going to be a scenario, and I'm actually leaning more towards the latter, where we're going to see the Wolves come out next week. They're going to put over the Hardy Boys. They're going to talk about how much of an honor it was wrestle them, and basically say anytime you boys want a rematch, anytime, any place, we'll definitely do this. Because I feel in my heart of hearts, if this is done right, now I'm not really sure if TNA has secured Matt Hardy for more shows. I just know about the New York City shows. I know his profile is back on the ImpactWrestling.com site, but whether or not this is just strictly for the New York shows remains to be seen. One thing we can definitely all agree upon is we definitely need to see these two teams go at it again, those of us that have watched it tonight. But I'd like to see them come out on the next episode, put them over, and then maybe we have some type of a new threat come to them, and basically the Hardys is now in the rearview mirror as basically a new tag team steps up to the plate. Who that tag team could possibly be, it remains to be seen, quite honestly. I'm not really sure. Maybe Sonata and Cowboy James Storm, who knows? But post your comments down below. Let me know what you would like to see happen next for the Wolves. And then on the flip side to that, what's going on with the Hardys? Where do they go after what had went down there? Are they going to continue to stay as a unit, or are they going to, branch off again? I mean, the guys just got back together. Would kind of be silly for them to break up, right? Right. So it should be interesting to see what comes about for next week's episode. We had saw a total of 3 qualifying X Division matches, triple threat matches. First off, we had saw Low Key defeat DJZ and Manic. And talk about the irony in that, by the way. What are the odds that Low Key defeats Manic? Just home in on that. If you know your TNA wrestling like that, then you guys know that at one point, Low Key was Manic, a.k.a. Suicide. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, there's been a series of suicide people that have played Suicide before it became Manic. And so far as Manic, it's just been TJ Perkins. I'm trying to think. I want to say originally Suicide was Low Key. Then briefly Christopher was Suicide. I believe Frankie Kazarian was Suicide for a little bit. So that's 3 right there. Then it went to T.J. Perkins. Then I think for a hot second it might have went back to Low Key for a couple of weeks. Then it went back to T.J. Perkins, and pretty much it's been T.J. Perkins ever since T.J. Perkins has been Manic. Although there was that one infamous week there, remember, when Suicide had won division championship, and it turned out it was actually Aries. So we've had at least 5 people play that character. I just think that's it. But I just kind of had a lighthearted chuckle seeing Low Key defeat Manic, because especially when you look at their costumes, it was kind of similar to one another. I just thought it was a little funny. I don't know if you guys that know your team like that thought that was kind of a hot moment as well, or at least a chuckle. Was it just me, by the way? Did they go overkill on the commercials tonight? I don't know how it was for you guys in your respective parts of the woods, but like over here on the East Coast, every single time TNA took a damn commercial break, I kept seeing the Hardee's commercial. No, I'm not talking about Matt and Jeff Hardy either. I'm talking about the food commercial, the burgers and all that. It's the joint with Paris Hilton, and she says to the hot blonde, "Oh, you missed a spot" or whatever, and it's like, my God, Spike TV, they really know how to try to get that male demographic, don't they? You got some hot babes, not really wearing anything on, and they're pushing the hell out of greasy ass fast food that you know is going to give you a serious clogged artery, but it tastes so good. Or actually, I got to hit that Homer Simpson joint. It tastes so good, or as I like to say, I'd sell my soul for a donut. But in either case, I digress. No, but I just thought it was kind of interesting because every single time you see the commercial, I don't know about you guys, but I kept getting the three H's: hot, hungry, and well. I gotta keep it clean, guys, but I think you know what the third one is, and it was so funny too. I gotta give a shout out, and I actually gotta pull them up on Twitter right now because I want to make sure I give them credit for this. I said something along the lines of, guys checking out this Hardee's commercial. They're experiencing the Triple H syndrome, and it was actually Russell Long. I gotta give them a shout out. He said, not just guys, some girls too. And it's kind of like, touche, touche, my friend, touche. But man, they went overkill on that damn commercial, man. I must have seen it at least 10 times. It felt like ridiculous right there. We were talking about the X Division qualifying matches, the triple threats. Your second one, we had saw Brian Cage take on Crazy Steve and Sonata. Sonata, he actually had got a proper introduction by the Cowboy James Storm. James Storm continuing the storyline from last week where Sonata had betrayed his mentor, the Great Muta. We did not see any appearance by Great Muta this week, as I am under the impression right now, really, at some point, we're going to probably see Great Muta come back. And if anything, he may challenge Sonata, or maybe it might be James Storm with Sonata teaming up to take on the Great Muta and a protege of the Wrestle One promotion. I think that's the direction that they could be going. We'll see how it plays out. But I love how the Cowboy James Storm did a superb job and really selling the hell out of Sonata, basically saying, look, this wasn't a case right here where Sonata had betrayed mentor, his teacher. No, he just woke the hell up, and he realized that the Great Muta is nothing more than a great fluke, and that I am the true mentor. I'm the person that he needs to be under, because basically James Storm can show him the dark side or whatever, as we slightly have Darth Vader's cape blowing in the background. I think the Force is starting to grow very strong behind me, especially with regards to James Storm. For those of you that are not sure who the hell Brian Cage is, by the way, Brian Cage is that he's 30 years of age, first of all. He's got an insane-looking physique as well. I mean, my God, I see millions of dollars that can be made off of this. Why this man is not in other promotions? Sure, I think in the promotion he was signed under a WWE developmental deal as he reported to Florida Championship Wrestling for a good moment, where he wrestled under the name Chris Logan. So a little bit of a combination of the Logan / Wolverine character and also paying homage to Chris Kanyon. While he was down there, he feuded with Alberto Del Rio. Gabriel, see, Drew McIntyre. For unknown reasons, he was released by the WWE. He's been on the independent wrestling circuit since. He's done some stuff for Deep South Wrestling. He's mainly been working in Joey Ryan's promotion. You guys remember Joey Ryan, and he was actually a former guest of WWE. While we're showing love to Joey Ryan, we definitely got to let you guys know that yours truly had got not one, but two shoot DVDs in the mail, and one of them was Joey Ryan, conducted by RF Video. So we're actually going to be talking about that. We're not doing a weekend edition now that I think about it, but I will be watching it this weekend, and we'll actually a review for you guys next week. I may give you guys a YouTube exclusive over the weekend of it first before we premiere it on our radio show, so make sure you stay glued to our YouTube channel, all right? Yeah, he's mainly been working for Jay Ryan's Pro Wrestling Guerrilla promotion. I know down there he was a tag champion at one point, so that gives you a little bit of background into Brian Cage. He's got a great look, though. I'm hoping that TNA Wrestling, John Gubrick, they sign this man. He's actually made sporadic appearances for TNA Wrestling over the years, I think. I want to say over maybe the past 2 years, off and on, he's made appearances. Smart booking how this match was, by the way. I love the fact that Sonata had got the pin on Crazy Steve rather than Brian Cage, because as soon as I looked at Brian Cage, I just couldn't help but say to myself, there's no way in hell this guy can get pinned. It's like, look at this guy. He's a freaking beast. He's chiseled as hell, you know? It's like, you can't have a good-looking guy like that lose to a guy like Sonata. It's just not really going to be believable. So I love the way that they booked it. It was kind of like Brian Cage was kind of taken out of the equation, maybe by like a high-risk maneuver by one of the guys, and then it came down to Crazy Steve Sonata, which was pretty much even playing field. I like how they booked it right there. Just leave Cage out of the equation as Sonata had advanced. Your third X Division match, we actually saw Samoa Joe defeat Homicide, and my favorite name, T. Gray. Oh, Lord, I love saying that. And some of you guys may be saying, Samoa Joe, how the hell did he get in this? Well, they showed a segment where there was a passionate exchange of words between Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe. It was inaudible. Cameras had asked Kurt Angle afterwards, what was up with that conversation with Samoa Joe? It looked pretty intense. And the only thing Kurt Angle said was, well, you know, let me just say this. Things are about to pick up in a big way. Talk about no limits. So it looks like they're kind of going back with regards to the X Division. It looks like they're adopting a philosophy that Bruce Pritchard had with regards to the X Division, which is something that he talked about very candidly in his shoot interview with RF Video. And if you guys haven't checked out our review of it, I will have the link somewhere, be right around here for you all to check out when you guys get a chance. But it was a question that he had asked the folks in TNA. He's, can somebody tell me what the heck is the X Division? What's it about? Is there a weight class? What's going on? And then that kind of explained why things just ended up being so open with the X Division under Bruce Pritchard's watch. Like, as far as, okay, let's not have there be a weight limit. Why do we have these restrictions and all that? So it's kind of nice seeing Samoa Joe be thrown in there and all that. So your three participants that's going to be facing one another in a triple threat match for the vacant X Division Championship is going to be Samoa Joe versus Low Key versus Sonata. Look, I know this episode has already been taped, like next week's episode, but if I were to just give early predictions right now, I don't think Sonata needs to get the X Division belt back. I don't. I think right now the story just really needs to hit home with Sonata's connection with James Storm. Just have the X Division title be out of the equation for Sonata with James Storm. So I don't see Sonata getting it. Low key, Samoa Joe. That's a tough call, man, especially after the promo that Low Key had cut saying it seemed like every single time he comes around the TNA promotion, there's always something left for him to do, something left for him to accomplish in the TNA promotion and all that. It's a tough call. You know, my heart wants to say go with Samoa Joe, but then I'm looking at a guy like Low Key, man. I've actually got to go with Low Key. Maybe that's because I've just been a fan of his more so than Samoa Joe, you know, because I would actually like to see Samoa Joe continue that. And it kind of seemed like they abandoned it as Samoa Joe had came out. And he actually had put over Kurt Angle, basically giving him street creds for bringing back the six-sided ring, bringing back key wrestlers, also giving him props for putting him in this X Division tournament or whatnot. But for me, I kind of want to see that whole Samoa Joe getting in the face of Kurt Angle, continuing to stir that pot and constantly saying to Kurt Angle, sooner or later you're going to show your true colors. I know you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to try to go after the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, and when you do, I'm going to be right there to try to derail you. I kind of want to see things go back to that because this kind of came left field with Samoa Joe now just saying, oh, yeah, you know, shout out to Kurt Angle. And it's kind of like, where's the consistency here? Because at one point, Joe, you were like ready to just strangle the hell out of Kurt Angle's neck. You don't think his intentions are really good being in the position that he's in, storyline-wise. So I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking, guys, but for me, it just seemed just a little bit off. But hey, it is what it is. Hope you're enjoying our recap and review of Destination X so far. If so, please go out of your way. Make sure you give this piece a thumbs up. You can also Google Plus this, Facebook it, retweet it. One of the many ways you can spread a good word about our content. And hey, while I got you guys' attention, those of you all that love checking out podcasts and all that, I've got a really cool special offer that I want to give to you guys. We have partnered up with Audible.com, and Audible is a leading provider in some of the best audiobooks that you guys can grab. And the best part I like about Audible is if you don't have time to kick back and actually read, you know, whether it's, you know, you're busy with school or maybe you have kids of your own, you just don't have time. Best thing I like about Audible is that all these books that they have on their website, you can just hear it word for word. Hear the book in your ears, okay? So it's kind of like one big, long, and fun type of podcast. If you use our URL, which is audibletrial.com/the RCWR show, you can check out a free Audible book and you can test out the service for free for an entire month. If you guys are wrestling fans, they got some really great stuff that's on there. They got Hollywood Hulk Hogan, they got Brock Lesnar, the tragic murders of the Benoit family. I mean, they got a little something for everybody. Even if wrestling is your cup, maybe you like to check out other genres. They've got like over at least 150,000 titles. So go check them out one more time using our URL, audibletrial.com/the RCWR show. For those of you that's going to be checking out the recording of this, you're going to be seeing another ad break. Hang tight. Come on back. We're going to continue the discussion of Fallout from Destination X. You're checking out Impact Showdown. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, let's continue on. Not really that much to talk about more as far as the Destination X event goes. We have our main event now, which is Bobby Lashley taking on Austin Aries for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Once again, I said it at the top of the show, I got to take my hats off to these two men. I told you guys last week that these two are like the most technical, the most gifted wrestlers that we've seen in like the last 15, 20 years. I told you guys last week, they're going to deliver in this main event match, and they delivered big time. I mean big time. When I look back on the entire night for Destination X, I home in on the Hardys taking on the Wolves, but I also home in on Bobby Lashley, Austin Aries. And if I were to just rank it from 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 being the highest, 3 being least favorite, but still pretty good, I have to put Aries, Bobby Lashley at number 1. I got to put the Wolves and the Hardys at number 2 for sure. The X Division match in particular, I would say, honestly, I would say the one with Joe taking on Homicide and Tigre Uno. I kind of enjoyed that more than the other 2 X Division qualifying matches. But Bobby Lashley, Austin Aries, my God, I'm in love with Bobby Lashley right now, man. Seriously, I'm in love because for me, one little knack, an annoying little knack at that I had with Bobby Lashley was when he left the WWE, I said, damn, there goes the opportunity to see 100% black man be the WWE champion. There goes that opportunity because, as I've said passionately off and on during this whole show, as long as we've been doing our shows, I really felt that WWE, Vince McMahon and crew were really trying to put Bobby Lashley on that level with a John Cena. And I will continue to say this until I'm blue in the face. If Bobby Lashley would have stayed in the WWE, he wouldn't have let the antics of a Michael Hayes and some other things get to him. And he was just all about the business, making that money and all that. I honestly feel in my heart of hearts what Ron Simmons did for the World Heavyweight Championship in WCW when he defeated Vader, we definitely would have seen lightning strike twice with Bobby Lashley being the first 100% pure African-American WWE champion. But talk about opportunities right there. But in retrospect, I must say, I'm enjoying the hell out of his run as the TNA champion. When it first came about, I really wasn't sure what to expect because I was looking at this situation and I said to myself, Bobby Lashley as the TNA champion, okay, is he going to be a transitional champion? What exactly is the game plan right here? Obviously, it was a move that needed to be done because EY just was not delivering in the ratings. Whether you diehard TNA fans want to admit that or not, or you want to point out other problems that was going on, the numbers don't lie, unfortunately, okay? And for those of you that want to say, well, numbers don't matter, if numbers didn't matter, EY would still be the TNA champion. EY had the lowest rated segments ever as a TNA champion. And I tell you what, man, TNA's flavor, it's been pretty damn good with Bobby Lashley as the TNA champion. Austin Aries, of course, he was the man storyline-wise that introduced Option C. And we would see him go on, defeat Bobby Roode, which, by the way, those two guys had a nice little backstage segment where Bobby Lashley wished Aries luck, and he also had said to him, when you defeated me for the TNA championship at Destination a couple of years back, I just got to tell you, man, straight up, it wasn't a fluke. And Austin Aries was like, it wasn't a fluke. He said, no, it wasn't a fluke, man. You were the real deal. Like, go knock him out, man. Wish you the best of luck. So that was a nice little touch right there. But Bobby Lashley, those of you that's curious, he did retain successfully his TNA championship, and he did it with great style too, man. I mean, and Bobby Lashley, apparently he was bleeding at one point in the mouth. I'm not sure where exactly the spot had came that made that move happen for him, but It was a very physical, very intense matchup. A great way to wrap up the show. Crowd really behind it, and I just got to say the energy for this New York City crowd, which according to Mike Tenay and Taz, which by the way I got to give them props. Their commentating for this episode was really on point. It was really wrestling driven, storyline driven, not really too much little silly jokes and all of that. I mean, we see enough overkill as it is with some other promotions and their commentating, but they were just really trying to be focused on what was happening in in the ring throughout this whole Destination X event, and that's what I need to hear more out of this commentating team. Quite honestly, get away from the slapstick comedy crap. Stay more wrestling oriented, calling it all that, giving the folks little nice backdrops and the what's going on. You look at this and you ask yourself a two-part question, somewhat similar to what we had addressed with the Wolves and the Hardys, which is you look at what's going on with Austin Aries now. Austin Aries, he was the first man ever to introduce Option C. He became the TNA champion as a result of cashing in that X Division championship for a shot at the TNA championship. Now he becomes the first man ever to cash in the championship and come up short. So what happens to Austin Aries now? That's the $1 million question. And quite honestly, I would love for Austin Aries somewhere down the road, maybe as early as Bound for Glory. I would love to see him get another shot at the TNA Championship. I'm hoping that it happens. At some point, it did kind of seem like Austin Aries was in the doghouse, especially after the antics of thrusting his pelvis into the face of one Christy Hemme that seemed to have got him in the doghouse for a good stretch of time, but it seems like he's now been able to claw his way from the bottom and he's back up there in good graces again. Honestly, I think the sky's for Austin Aries. If I were to give a bold prediction right now for 2015, I say look for Austin Aries to get another at that TNA championship. What's on the horizon for a Bobby Lashley? Honestly, that's why I go back to that X Division match for the vacant championship between Samoa Joe, Low Key, and Sonata. That's why I'm looking at Low Key to get that championship, because I would honestly love for there to be a program between Samoa Joe, Bobby Lashley, and Bound for Glory for the title. I don't know about you guys, but visually I'm just picturing it in my head. I'm just thinking about everything that these two men have been able to do over the years. I truly believe in my heart of hearts these guys would be able to deliver on instinct. I don't know how you guys feel with regards to that. Some of you all may also be looking at Bobby Roode. Maybe Bobby Roode taking on Bobby Lashley. I think in either case, either of those combinations would be very good. Hell, I'd even settle for a triple threat at Bound for Glory between those three men for the title. What do you guys think? Post your comments down below. Let me know what y'all have to say. Overall tonight, though, I would have to say this was a slam dunk of a Destination X event, more so because of the first two matches, what we had got to kick off Destination X, what we had got to close out Destination X. In between, rather decent. I will say that. It wasn't bad. It was decent, enough to definitely keep you around. But looking at next week, we've got that X Division Championship match. We have Team Bully taking on Team EC3. Also, we have Angelina Love, who's going to be making an announcement as far as what's going on with her being denied by Kurt Angle of an opportunity to try to regain her TNA Knockouts Championship. That should be a very interesting announcement right there. And then also, in case you guys had missed it, as some of you all may have just saw Impact Wrestling go off and maybe you turned your TV off and you didn't see like the last 20 seconds, but kudos to TNA Wrestling. I guess they might be listening to a lot of our shows that's out there that's been saying this, but it looks like next Thursday, hashtag it happens. And it's about damn time that TNA has pulled a smart move with regards to this. Of course, I'm talking about Dixie Carter going through a table by Team 3D set up by Bully Ray as he puts her to the table. Yeah, it's going down next week, and that should be, oh, you don't want to miss that. Definitely set your DVR. Dudes, I'm looking forward to checking that out. That's going to be like one of the most historical moments for TNA Wrestling. I'm quite sure that if you were to make a top 10 list, that definitely is going to be in there. Whether or not it would be number one, that's up to you all to debate. But if I were to make a top 10 list, I would have that definitely be in the top 10 moments, no doubt about that. Some quick TNA wrestling news that I want to share with you guys. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. I think it's about that time. One more time. What I want to do, those of you that's going to be checking out the recording of this, we're going to do one more ad break. After we come on back, we're definitely going to talk some TNA wrestling news, including what's been going on with TNA Spike TV negotiations, as all signs indicating right now that TNA wrestling is on Spike TV. We got some Vince Russo news, and we still have to get to you all's comments, so make sure you stick around for that. One last commercial break, and we'll jump all into it. You're checking out Impact Showdown for July 31st, 2014. We'll be coming right back. And we are back. All right, so got some TNA wrestling news to share with you guys. First off, I thought this was very interesting. It was a 1-2 punch that came about today. You all remember Rampage Jackson, right? Remember how he was part of the new Main Event Mafia? He was basically like Mr. T's character from the A-Team and all that. And we heard that he was supposed to be getting his training, and he was going to eventually come up the TNA roster, and all this good hot pal hoo-ha. Now that I've said that, I'm thinking of Buster Rhymes. It's funny that I'm talking about a black man in Rampage Jackson, hoo-ha, and then I'm thinking Buster Rhymes. I got that flip motion that make you break your neck. Woo-ha! Got you all in check anyway. Those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, let me get back to the talk of wrestling. But no, seriously, guys, it looks like Rampage Jackson had said in a recent interview with the Nerdist.com site, or correction, the FightNerd.com site, that he's done with the TNA wrestling promotion. He basically said he did not like the way TNA wrestling had handled him. He wasn't that impressed, so much so that Dixie Carter, Big John Gubrick, they had tried making several phone calls to him, telling him he needs to come back. They'd love to have him come back to the promotion, and he just avoided all of their phone calls. He shot them down. The way that he kind of came off, it was almost as if he was a little bit embarrassed to be associated with the TNA wrestling promotion. Not necessarily wrestling, but in particular to be associated with TNA. And it's a little bit conflicting when you hear this, because he's kind of contradicting himself if you really think about it, because those of you that have been paying attention to Rampage Jackson and his association with TNA Wrestling and all that, then you guys know that a while back, TNA Wrestling had revealed that Rampage Jackson was having his own wrestling ring being built at a facility that was near wherever he lived, because basically at the time he couldn't come down to, I want to say, was it Ohio Valley Wrestling, or basically he couldn't either go to OVW or he couldn't go to the Florida training facility that TNA has an affiliate with out there. And they were like, okay, well, no problem. We can understand that. They built him a ring. They hooked him up at some location near his house. They even gave him a trainer in Chavo Guerrero. And I definitely remember him talking about how he was getting his training in. And he was very happy. He couldn't wait to come back into TNA wrestling. Yada 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 yada. All this good hot game. All right. There's even pictures floating around of this ring that was built for him and all that. So you hear that, right? And then you see the TV spot before Impact Wrestling goes off the air, where you had those video gamers, and then even Mike Tenay and Taz, they were like, oh, you definitely want to check out, and I don't know the name of the show, it's some rip-me-off version of X-Play is my best way to describe it, but basically they were like, you want to make sure you check out Mr. Anderson and Rampage Jackson, so they're trying to make it seem like, oh, so, but honestly, with regards to Rampage Jackson, I think this is honestly just a case right here where you have some MMA fighters, they're looking at what's going on with the TNA product, and they're probably saying to themselves, you know what, it's supposed to be about me, I'm coming in here, it's supposed to be about me, it's supposed to be about my fights, it's supposed to be about my movies, because let's just be for real. When Rampage Jackson did this deal, because remember, this deal was done with Spike TV and Bellator. They both had worked out the deal to get Rampage Jackson on board, to come do a fight for Bellator and all that. And then since they had the wrestling outlet right there with TNA Wrestling, Spike TV, no doubt, they probably had went to TNA and kind of said, hey, we need we need you guys to do something with Rampage Jackson, as we want to try to hype up this fight that he's going to be having in Bellator. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe one of the first fights he was supposed to have, I believe it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be Tito Ortiz versus Rampage Jackson, but one of them had got injured or whatever, and the fight was off, and like we hadn't seen Rampage Jackson since then. So a little bit conflicting what he's saying. Why not just be for real? You just don't really have faith in the TNA product. Why you gotta put these contradicting reports out there? I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting. I'm very curious to know what you guys think with regard to that. But for me, I just thought it was kind of interesting, some of the choice words that he had to say about the promotion. Now, while we're still talking about MMA fighters, Tito Ortiz, he recently did a interview where he talked about the possibility of coming back to TNA, and I quote, I will be in the ring with TNA very soon, really soon. Me and Dixie Carter, we sat down and we talked about some things for the future. I love it. I love professional wrestling. Since I can remember guys like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Randy Savage, back in those days, I was a huge fan. So being a part of that now, it's just fun. It's storyline, but it's male soap operas. It's fun. I dig it, and I think Dixie Carter over at TNA is doing an amazing job over there, and we'll just see what the future holds for me over there. But yes, I will be doing TNA again in the future for sure. And he also commented on what's going on with TNA, Spike TV situation deal. Again, and I quote, I don't know. I think it really comes down to Dixie doing the right promotions to make it happen. Dixie Carter is a smart businesswoman. I think Spike needs professional wrestling. I think if they are going to get it, then TNA can be the one. So, and that interview was also conducted with the FightNerd.com. I'll actually have the links be available on our Facebook page for you all to check out. When's the last time you guys been to TNA Wrestling's website? Because they have signed what they're dubbing True American Hero in Chris Melendez, who's a former Army sergeant. He was awarded the Purple Heart and other awards. Basically, he had suffered a serious injury while he had went over there to fight the good war in Afghanistan. He's a single leg amputee, but he has not let it stop him from accomplishing his dream of being a professional wrestler. He is going to be making his debut at the next batch of TNA New York City shows. I'll actually have that link available for you guys in the episode description below after we get done doing this for you here live. But you guys definitely, I haven't seen any of his work yet. I definitely am going to be having that on the to-do list. And maybe we can talk about it next week on Impact Showdown. I'll give you guys my impressions of it. But if I were to just take a little bit of a jab, joke-wise, no, it has nothing to do with him being an amputee. My ex-wife, she was physically disabled, so I have a big heart when it comes to people with disability. The joke that I'm getting ready to say, so wait a minute, we have a guy that was in the military and all that. I can't help but think about that one guy. What's his name? Was it Jesse Neal? The guy that used to be a Marine or whatever, and now he's working at Walmart, and he says life is good. He's making more money at Walmart than he did when he was working at TNA Wrestling. If TNA Wrestling wanted a few good men, I don't understand why they just couldn't keep Jesse on board. He had a nice, cool look to him, but hey, man, it is what it is. But I like what's going on right here with regards to Chris Melendez joining them and all that. If I were to be a betting man, and this hasn't even happened yet, all right, so just take a nice little trip with me into Booking 101. If I'm looking at this Chris Melendez and I'm TNA Wrestling and I'm trying to figure out a way of how to introduce him to the TNA fan base, one idea that I would strongly recommend is that storyline-wise, we have Chris Melendez turn out to be a longtime friend of Gunner, and have it be a scenario where, I can see a skit happening where Gunner and Samuel Shaw, they're doing a little bit of sightseeing in New York and all that. They come across Chris. Gunner's like, damn, Chris, how the hell have you been, man? I haven't seen you in a good minute. You look good, man. And, they catch up on what they've been doing since the war and all that. And Samuel Shaw is standing there. He kind of gets a little bit jealous, and he kind of injects himself in there and says, hello, my name is Sam, or my name's Samuel. And we can see Gunner kind of go, oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Chris, this is my pal, Samuel Shaw right here. And, yeah, Sam, da-da-da-da. And then basically, maybe we could see Sam be in a position where he's kind of jealous of their relationship because they're kind of picking up where they left off when they were in the force together. I could even see a scenario play out where maybe Gunner says to Chris, so what are you doing now? How are you making ends meet? And Chris says, well, I'm doing some odd jobs. I'm actually working down at the harbor, blah, 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 blah. And Gunner can say, well, look, man, I'm in the wrestling now, and, from what I remember, when you and me used to go at it a few times for the boys, you had a couple of moves there, man. How about you tag along with me? I think I might be able to pull a few strings for you. And Chris goes, yeah, you think you can? Yeah, sure can. And so as the weeks progress, we see more and more of Gunner, Chris, really picking up where they left off, to the point that Samuel Shaw gets so mad. Maybe we can see him kind of come between the two, and Gunner kind of goes, look, you're my friend as well. But basically this is a case right here where Samuel Shaw turns out to be mentally unstable, and basically we see him maybe do something, and I hope they push the envelope right here, TNA. I would love to see a scenario play out where Samuel Shaw just beats the living crap out of Chris Melendez to the point, and I haven't seen this move happen since WWE, and I think you guys see where I'm going with this. Remember when Brock Lesnar, if I'm not mistaken, it was Brock Lesnar, I believe he had ripped the prosthetic leg of Zach Gowen off, and I think he beat him with it or something like that. Or maybe it was Vince McMahon. One of those two guys did that to Zach Gowen. That much I know for certain. But I would love to see a scenario like that happen with Chris Melendez and Samuel Shaw that would make Gunner come out, and then you officially have the program begin between Gunner and Samuel Shaw. I mean, that's the direction that they're kind of going. I've been saying this for months. My whole thing was, how are they going to get to that point? And by the introduction of Chris Melendez in there, I think we got something going on right there, man. Let me know what you guys think about that. That's your booking one-on-one for tonight. You know what? So damn good. We're actually buddies with Gunner on Twitter. I think I'm going to actually tweet him this idea and see if we can, maybe get a comment from him or whatever. Hopefully we can get some love from him. I have some Vince Russo news for you guys. Of course, Vince Russo, it turns out on the DL, on the down low, keep it on the hush. What's that song? Keep it. I think that was a Ludacris song. Keep it on the hush. Don't say nothing while I'm doing my thing. Well, in either case, Vince Russo was on the hush doing his thing for TNA Wrestling as a consultant. And initially, this information had leaked when he sent an email to the wrong person, as he ended up sending I think it had to do with his, I think the email initially was his relationship with TNA, like the clarification of it or whatever. I'm not sure who he was trying to send that to, but basically it had went to Mike Johnson of PW Insider, and they just went with it, and it's been spreading like wildfire, and it's been said that Spike TV is kind of furious with TNA Wrestling because they had told TNA Wrestling that under no circumstances they did not want Vince Russo to be working with the TNA Wrestling product. And TNA Wrestling, they say, yeah, sure, no problem. Turns out they've been lying to Spike TV. At least that's the reports that's being said right now. We haven't heard Vince Russo, officially lay claim to, whether or not this is something that was in fact established between TNA and Spike, that he was not supposed to be working for the TNA product. But surprisingly, or actually not surprisingly, Vince Russo had announced on Twitter that he is once again done with the TNA promotion. He said in direct quote, officially done with TNA. Today they suggested a break. I declined. Finality was better for me. Details coming soon on his website. And look, if you guys have been following Vince Russo on social media, he's been really pushing the hell out of this website. He is trying to drive so much traffic. It's so ridiculous that he has some of these articles set up where the only way you can read them is if you buy a membership. And it's like, who the should do? You shouldn't have to do that. That would be like me telling you guys, oh my God, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. And you know why? Well, in order to find out, you have to pay to see my review of it at our website at infinityOneProductions.com. You have to pay a membership of $5, and you'll be able to read exactly why I think Guardians of the Galaxy is like the greatest movie of all time. I just think it's very misleading when some people operate like this. I mean, make the freaking website free. Don't make people pay, just to read freaking articles, because when it's all said and done, somebody is going to pay that $19.99 or however much the freaking price is. They're going to do a screenshot, and then they're going to pass it out to their friends, and you're not going to really know who the hell had leaked it out, so eventually you're going to have to make your stuff free anyway. If you want to make money, go into the podcasting field, which Vince Russo supposedly said he's going to be going into the podcasting field very, very soon. This seems to be the trend now, folks. Wrestlers, wrestling authority figures, authorities that had anything to do with wrestling, this is the new trend now. It's like no longer working for a wrestling promotion, go get your own podcast. But hey, it is what it is, man. To each its own. But yeah, chime off your thoughts on that. TNA, the TNA Wrestling, Spike TV negotiations or whatever, not really that much has changed since last we were on the air with you guys. We went in depth about this on a special Monday night edition of the RCWR show with myself and Titus Machiavelli. I talked about it on a great deluxe edition of the RCWR show radio edition. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, you really should. We even gave you guys a bonus episode of WWE's Legends of Wrestling, which was covering African Americans in wrestling. It was a great roundtable discussion. There's a reason why I played the audio. You can actually check it out right now for great audio quality. Check it out on Spreaker. We have the links in the episode description. Check it out when you guys get a chance. But you know, the way that it's looking right now, no doubt there's definitely a lot of TNA wrestlers as well as personnel, upper management that are very concerned about the future of TNA wrestling. It's being said that TNA, Dixie Carter and crew are supposedly going to have a big announcement that's going to be happening at these TNA New York City shows happening next week. Not sure what that announcement is. I would think that if it had anything to do with a new TV deal, it would have been announced by now, because there are just so many people, you know, that are under the impression that TNA's days are numbered right now. It makes no sense. It's just a really bad time to be a TNA fan right now, because there's a lot of uncertainty about this product. So much so that the only type of damage control we've seen come from TNA Spike is from the Carter side, including Dixie Carter. The only thing they're saying is negotiations are ongoing. What Spike TV / Viacom reported to, I believe it was PW Insider or F4W Online, is that, you know, we don't discuss ongoing negotiations. So it led to the impression that, okay, there's some type of negotiations going on. But see, guys, this is where you really need to be concerned. I'm going to hip you a little bit to television, okay? This is how it works with television, in case you guys don't know. And I'm going to say this, and then we're going to get to you guys' comments. All right? You have a pilot episode. Normally, when it comes to pilot shows, and I know this because I organize focus groups. I collect research data and all that, all right? I know a thing or two, all right? So I know what I'm talking about right here. Let's say, for instance, you got a TV show. Most of these TV shows, the way it comes about is a pilot. The pilot gets shown to a focus group that comes across all age demographics, all racial backgrounds, parts of, you know, whatever respected city for that state or whatever, all right? Income, education, all the demographics all across the board, all right? Depending on what happens with these focus groups, if the pie is strong or whatever, then it gets a soft launch. Soft launch is basically, okay, this is going to be on for X amount of weeks. The TV company, the network, whatever, they've decided that they want to order anywhere from 5 to 8 episodes, right? Now, as the weeks are progressing, maybe around the 5th week, 6th week, they have an idea what's going on with the ratings. They'll be able to decide whether or not this is a show that they want to keep, and if so, then they go on ahead and say, okay, you know what? Those other episodes that you guys got, and typically when a pilot gets the green light and more episodes are produced, typically you get anywhere from, I would say, about maybe 13, 15 episodes, right? So right around week 5, week 6, if the ratings are good, that network is going to say, we want more episodes. Order that, all right? Let's order up some more. Yeah, let's keep it going. So then they show the rest of the episodes for that season, and then right before that season ends, you'll find out if that show is being picked up for another season, if the ratings are strong enough. If the ratings are in limbo, then usually you find out the fate of that TV show during the summer. So in this case right here, what makes this situation with TNA Wrestling very unique is the fact that usually around July, early August is when we start to hear, okay, these are the shows that's going to be part of the lineup for 2015-16 season or 2014-15 season. It goes as follows, all right? And the fact that TNA Wrestling hasn't been announced on Spike TV's fall lineup yet, you guys need to be concerned with that because the trigger should have already been pulled by now. Could this go down to the wire? It could. It very well could. We could finally see a scenario come about where maybe TNA is able to make some type of a deal with Spike TV. I tell you what, this new company, this talent agency, I believe it's called United Talent Agency or UTA, it doesn't really seem like they're doing anything for TNA right now. And I said this earlier in the week. At one point, a couple months back, TNA Wrestling, they were offered a new deal by Spike TV. And I'm a bit surprised that there's not that many people that's talking about that. But UTA basically had said, let's not sign that deal just yet. Don't rush to it. Let's see if we can find you another deal. And, there's a market for wrestling. Don't get me wrong. I mean, when it's all said and done, you've got at least 1 million people that's checking out TNA Wrestling on a weekly basis. So you could definitely tap into that market. They can definitely have a career on another network, but at the same time, you don't really hear too many networks clamoring over to the TNA product. Somebody had brought up a very interesting question earlier in the week. They said, Lee, do you see promotions like Ring of Honor or maybe independent promotions, that has a really good, strong following? They're able to put in some really good numbers, especially as far as attendance go. Do you see them maybe being able to slide in there and take the place of TNA spot on Spike TV? It's very well possible. It is very well possible, but y'all really need to be concerned with the TNA product right now, because the fact that I haven't heard another network say they're interested in wrestling, or the fact that we haven't heard any other reports of, hey, this network is interested in wrestling, they're talking about meeting with Dixie Carter, TNA, the fact that we haven't seen any of that come down yet, that's a bad sign. And the fact that this is really kind of coming down to the wire, it's insane. I mean, it's so funny because I think about this last season of Law and Order SVU that wrapped up. I remember watching the season finale, I think it was back in June, and they were like, Law and Order's done for this season. Thanks for checking us out. All news return this fall. So in some cases, before a show has a season finale or whatever, you usually hear if they're being picked up for another season. So the fact we haven't heard anything yet, man, I can't stress it enough. I said it earlier in the week, I'm going to say it again. Definitely represent, if you want to see TNA stay on Spike TV, send emails, call up Spike TV executives, blow up their phone lines, let your voices be heard. I don't think you guys need to go the extreme route in getting a petition together. I think that's just a little bit too insane right there. I don't think you need to do that. Just do it a little bit more subtle, okay? It's not that serious. But definitely hit them up on social media, call them, email them, if you want to see them stay on Spike TV. But then again, maybe this is a good move for TNA. That's the other thing you guys need to think about, because those of you that say, hey, I'm getting sick and tired of seeing Bellator and MMA and all this other hoo-ha crap come around the TNA product, all I care about is just my wrestling with an occasional celebrity that's not trying to get in the ring and wrestle these guys. I respect that. And honestly, if TNA really wants to be done with that type of atmosphere, then yeah, ultimately they're going to have to get away from the Spike promotion. Could it be a scenario where Spike TV pulls a Sinclair broadcast, and Sinclair broadcast, which owns Ring of Honor. Could Spike TV be looking to do that? Maybe that's why it might be coming down to the wire, because Spike TV, they may be paying very close attention and seeing what type of deals, if any, TNA Wrestling is able to get, and based off of that demand, Spike TV could probably come in at the very last minute and basically pull a GameStop. And if you guys don't know what I mean by that, a perfect example, you go into GameStop and you have, and this is a true story, this actually happened to me. You go into GameStop and you're like, hey, what's up? I'm ready to trade in this limited edition Batman Arkham Asylum game. Oh, wow, it's an actual limited edition? It's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's part of that box set that came with right? Yeah, okay. Okay, looks good. Looks good. Keep in mind, I paid like $80 for this damn thing. Hey, yeah, it looks good. All right. Give you $7. What? I think ultimately it's going to come down to the wire, and Spike TV is going to give TNA a low ball deal, and TNA is probably going to take it because they're going to be saying to themselves, we have a TV deal, we have a TV deal, we're still seeing on TV. Spike TV could really be looking at a way to cut down on the ad fees, just a whole. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but like you all that like know your stuff, ratings and all, you all know exactly what I'm talking about. So I really shouldn't need to elaborate even more on that. But we could see a low ball move being done with the product towards the end. I'm curious what you guys think with regards to that. So on that note, we definitely want to show love to some of you guys that had posted comments on our initial piece when we first broke out the news, and then we'll make the transition and seeing what you all had to say about tonight's Destination X. We do thank you guys for staying up with us one more time. If you're enjoying our show so far, please give this a thumbs up. Make sure you keep those comments coming down below and share this a number of ways. You can Google Plus, repeat Facebook, all right? All right, so I'm not going to read every single comment because the tally as of right now, there's over 222 comments for our breaking news piece on TN canceled. So it's insane. I'm only going to read just a little small handful, and then we're going to get to what you guys have to say, all right? Take Dragon Chaser. I see indie promotions doing great shows that have much better wrestling scripting than WB and TNA. Would you do a national wrestling show which presents the best indie matches? Nessamilian, nothing against TNA, but the product had its time. We're copying WWE with almost everything lately. I hope Ring of Honor gets a push and some TV time. Steven, this is not bad news to me. It's good news. TNA was what it was when it was the Jeff Jarrett show, and he never got over, and TNA is what it is that exists. He was throwing away money on that garbage just to get him over, and then he brought Vince Russo in, and he is nothing but a goofer. He put Daphne in stupid thumbtack matches and all that crazy crap, and had a guy dress up like Elvis. Yeah, the best thing is when TNA are off TV. Some of you guys may be cringing at some of these things that some of these people are saying. There's really not that much positive energy that is flowing from these comments so far. Last American, he had a upbeat comment to say things were starting to look good with the New York shows, and now this, although I stopped truly enjoying TNA around the time Awesome Kong and Homicide left, I still watched it every week, mostly out of habit. Truly sad, but as Yoda once said, there is another GFW. Mr. Free to be me. For the people that think this is a good thing, this is not. It's not good to be stuck with one wrestling company, and you are getting happy when people have family and children to feed. Some of you are really sick marks. I really hope everything works out for them in the long run. I want to end it on that note. I think that's a very good, strong way to wrap it up for now for these comments. You guys got to definitely, if you haven't seen the comments yet, it's a ton of comments from a lot of different people, very passionate, some positive, some negative, some neutral. Check it out when you guys get a chance. But for now, let's definitely get to you all's comments and see what you all have to say about tonight's Impact Wrestling slash Destination Next, and get your thoughts on some of the things that we've been talking about on this show tonight. Let me just pull up you all's comments here, and away we go. Let's see. The Knowing Guy. What channel do you think TNA will end up on? That's a tough call, man. Me and Titus were talking about this earlier in the week. If I could have my personal pick, like if I knew somebody that worked high up there in a network and they could maybe make some moves happen or whatever, I would like to see TNA get picked up by Esquire. Esquire used to be G4. G4 just seems like, or correction, Esquire, they just seem like they haven't been the same. You know, back in the day, man, before it became Esquire, when it was G4, that was the freaking place to be. I mean, for me, it was all about Attack of the Show. It was all about X-Play. I love those two shows, and it seemed like every single time you turned around, in between all of that, they really did not build a strong enough set of shows to support those new episodes that were being pumped out rather, by X-Play and Attack of the Show. Like every time you turned around, they were either showing Cops or American Ninja or whatever the hell that little tournament show was. But I think that if Esquire is really serious about doing original shows and all that, they want to try to really liven up their channel. I think TNA Wrestling would be a pretty good fit, honestly. Another good fit, Ion. I believe in my heart of hearts that when it's all said and done, Ion probably did not like the fact that main event, WWE main event, was not exclusive to their network, because Tuesday it was live on the WWE network, but then Wednesday you get the encore on the Ion channel. And the way Ion probably looked at it, they probably said, well, hell, man, this isn't really exclusive to us. And these guys are probably making a little bit more money because it's live. They're probably getting more eyes on the product when they're doing it on Tuesday. Why are we, this doesn't make any sense. And so, Ion is another one of those channels. They really aren't that heavy on new shows. They mainly rely on shows that are now, have gone off the air or whatever, man. It's like they're showing a bunch of reruns of stuff. I think last I checked, they were showing a bunch of reruns of Without a Trace. I think Law and Order, Criminal Intent, possibly one of those Law and Order shows. So Ion would be a good fit for TNA Impact Wrestling if Ion is looking to get back into wrestling. Everybody keeps talking about Sci-Fi. I'm trying to think if Sci-Fi is attached to NBC Universal. Sci-Fi channel. I don't think it is, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, it is. I'm actually looking at it right now. It's owned by NBC Universal. So yeah, I don't see TNA Wrestling being on there because, as you all know, this new deal that WWE made with NBC Universal, enough said. So SmackDown isn't going anywhere as far as Sci-Fi goes. I'm trying to think if there's any other. If I could have my personal pick, and this is a long shot too, man. This is a long shot. But if I could have my personal pick, two come into mind: VH1 Classics, and the other one would be. Hmm, that's a tough call. I want to say BET, but I don't think it would. I don't think it would work. I just don't think it would work. It could if you have more black-oriented wrestlers on the TNA product. I mean, especially if you have Bobby Lashley be one of those key uh, dominant pieces, you could probably pull it off. But I don't think BET would work. I'm trying to think what other network is out there. Yeah, man. If not Ion, Esquire, VH1 Classics, I think the direction that TNA Wrestling should be going with their product is establishing more of a strong relationship with the rock slash metal community. I mean, you just think about their little intro musics that they all come out to. A lot of them come out to some rock. A lot of them come out to a little bit of metal or whatever. Got a little bit of country in there, a little bit of country rock or whatever. I think they would be a great fit on the VH1 Classics, especially if they set up a new campaign where basically they're saying, look, you know, we're on VH1 Classics because, we're going back to our roots, or, uh, home of classic wrestling or whatever. They'd be able to work it out, but I think it would be a really good fit for them, especially if they were able to work out some type of deals where they would be able to continue to have celebrities come in. You don't ever have to worry about Rob Zombie teaming up with Bobby Lashley to take on Ethan Carter III, you know, and Bobby Lashley. It's never gonna happen. Uh, you just see Rob Zombie there, and Rob Halford, whoever the hell, man, whatever Rob. You just basically see them in attendance and they're enjoying the show and all that. I think that would be pretty freaking solid, okay, if they kind of did it to that aspect. And when you think about where VH1 Classics is right now, they're in a position where now they're starting to show movies. It's so funny too because just the other day I saw Coming to America. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell does this have to do with? And then I'm saying, okay, they're really expanding on the classics there. Okay, but I think they would be pretty good on there. Answer your question. I'm sorry I went so long right there, but that was actually a really good question that deserved a really good in-depth answer. So I hope you all had appreciated that. Let's see what else you guys are saying right here. We read that already. Let's see if I can get to you guys' comments here. I know I just saw more comments from you guys. Let me backtrack here. Philip on G4 at the time was Cops, Attack of the Show, X-Play, Campus PD, and Cheaters. Yeah, Cheaters. What was my man's name? Johnny Gecko, or whatever the hell his name was? I couldn't stand that guy. The Punisher, Roddy Piper, ripped the leg off the kid and beat him with it. Really? It was Roddy Piper? Damn, I thought it was Vince McMahon or Brock Lesnar. Wow, it was Roddy Piper. That's insane. See, I'm going to have to go back and look that up now, man, just to refresh my memory, really. Carnivore, what's up, man? This was kind of dumb for them to spoil the ending for next week. For the people who like surprises and don't like spoilers, that was the worst thing to spoil for them. I mean, I guess they think everyone reads spoilers, but I don't know. But I would have personally liked to be surprised. I think, P.S., this was a case right here where so many people were talking about this. It spread like wildfire. I agree with you to a certain extent, but you got to understand the position that TNA Wrestling is in right now. The fact that they're still negotiating with Spike TV, it is pretty much, hit the freaking home run already or sink. And I think TNA is just trying to do everything they can to pull all the stops to make sure, that they get as many eyes on the product as possible, especially for these New York City shows. excuse me, especially on top of seeing that the numbers for these New York City shows has been doing relatively well. So I think this is just a good way for them to do enough hyping a week in advance. And mark my words, if it hasn't already begun, I say leading up to next Thursday, look for a lot of TNA superstars to be all out there on social media. They're going to be milking the hell out of that bad boy. They're going to be like, you got to watch Impact Wrestling next week. The unthinkable happens. It happens. It happens. Dixie's going to go through a tape. It happens. I'm telling you, if they do it right, that episode is going to be like the highest rated episode for like this calendar year, or at least that freaking segment, all right? So I think it's actually a smart move what they're doing right there. See, Lee, enjoy Destination X. Was gutted that Austin Aries not crowned the new champion, but would prefer to see Bobby versus Bobby at Bound for Glory. I would love to see a feud between Gunner and Bram because they are similar in size, and I think it would be a great feud. Bullets, 7.5 out of 10. Decent show. I think the highlights of the night was the Wolves versus the Hardys and Bobby Lashley versus Aries. Robert, what's up, Robert? True story with Robert. We're in the early stages right now, but at some point, me and Robert are actually going to try to get together, and we're going to try to make an album of acoustic material with me on vocals. If you guys have not checked out Robert's music, man, with his band, it's some really great stuff. I'll see if I can post a link for you guys down below. Great band, great music that's going on right there. And Robert, love you, man, representing strong. One of his first gigs that he went to. What do you see, Robin? Robert's pushing a RCWR show t-shirt. Now that's representing, man. Love Robert. Dougie, I think it's a bad idea that Lashley won because he signed with Bellator. And if I were TNA, I would give Aries a long title run. But I also hope Joe wins next week. Ramon, TNA is using Sonata intelligently, personality-wise. The kid is dry. I know it's because in Japan the wrestlers focus on wrestling, not theater. I'm loving the storyline with him and James Storm. Yeah. Charles, decent show, but X Division match is way too predictable. You think so, Charles? Reggie, excellent world title match. That suicide dive looked painful. Hardy's just proved that age is nothing but a number. They still got it. Yeah, how about that, man? Insane. Especially with Matt Hardy doing didn't he do a swan? Yeah, he did a swanton bomb off the top turnbuckles. Carnova, yes, the commercials, especially the fast food stuff every week is ridiculous. When it comes to the amount of commercial breaks, WWE takes the cake. There is a break every segment and before, after, and during matches. Even if the segment is only like 4 minutes, it's always bugged me, but this week's made it more crazy. I know that's not what you meant, but I just wanted to comment. No, you're more than welcome. No, I understand where you're coming from, man. Robert, I like the main event a lot. Big match feel. Austin Aries is awesome, and Lashley is improving by the minute. Lashley is a great seller without looking weak. He has impressed me in the last 3 matches. Ditto, man, ditto. David, not enough wrestling for a free event. To a certain extent, I agree. I think it's those 3 X Division matches. They really kind of made them just a little bit too short for me, but yeah. I wish the knockouts would have did something. David would go on to say, if this was an Impact, I would give it 6 out of 10. Before a Destination X event, 4 out of 10 for me. Didn't have that big feel to it. And I'm only going to read about... Oh, I can read these last 2. Steven, if Spike drops them, is it the end for TNA? Short answer, no. Last American, Destination X was dang good. I especially like the 3-way match involving Low-Ki and the return of Homicide. Awesome stuff. And that is going to do it. If I didn't get to you guys' comments, please continue it. I'll definitely follow up, respond to you all individually as I usually do for you guys. We are not going to be doing a weekend edition of the RCWR show, as I'm going to be taking a much needed extended break, at least until Monday. But we will have a new edition of the RCWR show live. You can join me and my pal Titus Machiavelli as we'll recap Fallout from WWE Raw, as we're going to be about a little bit more than 2 weeks away from SummerSlam. We're also going to take a look at the current SummerSlam card and begin our series of predictions and booking, if you will, for the top main event matches at SummerSlam. So join us for that. That show will be happening on Monday, August 4th at 11:15 p.m. Eastern right here on YouTube. All right? For those of you that like checking out cool stuff on the downloads, we got great episodes available. iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker. All the links are in the episode description, so do check it out. One more time, if you enjoyed this episode of Impact Showdown, show the ultimate support. I can't stress it enough. Jump out there, give this piece a thumbs up, share it by Google Plusing it, Facebooking it, retweeting it, and man, it really helps out a ton. It helps more people find our content more easily. Another thing you can do if you guys really mess with us like that, we have the links in our episode description. Go to iTunes, go to Stitcher, give us a rating, give us a review. We'll definitely give you an on-air mention like Cro-Mag, not once but twice. He's commented on how much he's enjoyed the shows. We definitely got to show love to Trey, a long-time follower of ours, checked out our content from time to time. Definitely jump out there, represent. It helps us get high up there in the rankings. Not to mention it makes our content more findable, because it ain't cheap doing these shows for you guys here on a weekly basis. And at the end of the day, you know, to be that high up in the rankings and all that, to have people see the feedback that comes from great listeners, great viewers such as you all, will make them check out our product more, and it just sets up a big old positive domino effect. So definitely represent. And one more time, if you do submit a rating and review, find us out, whether it be on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever form of social media that you interact with us on from time to time, let us know, and we'll definitely give you an on-air mention. That's going to do it. As far as I know, I'm going to be seeing Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend. I will probably have a review exclusively for you all on YouTube here. I'll let you know how I had enjoyed it. So make sure you take a look at our channel, because I will be posting some random fun stuff for you guys, like our Rocky unveiling. It's a really cool photograph. Check it out if you guys haven't done so yet on our YouTube channel. All right, guys, that is going to do it. I wish all you all to be safe and be kind to one another. Thank you so much for staying up late with us for this edition of Impact Showdown. Next Impact Showdown will be, you TNA fans, on Thursday, August 7th at 11 p.m. Eastern. Until then, ciao, everybody. Good night.